Hey everybody, this is Perch, and I honestly wasn't going to do this one because a lot of other people will, but we're going to talk Marvel Voices Pride #1 that came out yesterday. And here's the thing: I feel like 10 years from now, when people are looking back, kind of at the aspects of the culture, like we do all the time. You look back on the '90s, you're like, here's some cool things about the '90s. You know, we got Nirvana, we got Pearl Jam, we got Soundgarden. I'm listing all music stuff at this point. We got a lot of really cool things in the '90s, and we also got some things that we'd all like to forget. Certain types of shoes, cell phones that were bricks that you held to your hair, and just cringy things about that time period. I think we're going to look back on this one as seeing, certainly there was some good steps forward for gender equality. Obviously, if you've listened to the interviews, had a great time talking with Rachel Pollack, very, very smart and good trans writer back in the '90s, who I think, gets forgotten. That burns me up every time I really think about it. And then we're going to talk about things during this period which really didn't help anything, and in many ways were confusing, or cringy is one word, destructive may be a better one. And this comic, damn it, if it doesn't go in directions that just I can't understand, what the thinking was of putting this book out. Here's the thing, and it's important to say this up front. The pride aspect of this, meaning the relationships of the characters, the fact that it's highlighting LGBTQ, heroes and everything else, that's not the problem in this. Honestly, it's not. There's several stories in this that go just fine. There is, and in particular, I'll go through it. And by the way, you read this, I'm sure, depending on your point of view, you might eye roll, but I want to draw your attention to, there are two different groups of stories here. The All My Eyes in the Nexus, which features Loki. It's by Alyssa Wong, somebody who's talked about a lot online. But basically, the premise of this story is Loki is captured. He tries to get his teammates in the Young Avengers to help him out. And he, there's a little bit of an assembly as they get Wiccan and Hulkling and America Chavez to go try and figure out how to help Loki. And they discover that he's basically been captured. It's unclear what they're going to do to him, but he's basically been captured by a number of his exes. And his exes include men and women and some kind of horse creature. And I think there's a chicken and a cat. And so the idea here is that, Loki is Polly and he goes for everything. And, there's a big fight and basically they then go and have breakfast. So it's fine. Is this a story for the ages? Absolutely not. But it is what it is. It proves a point. You've got Wiccan and Hulkling there in their relationship. They're written fine. It's fine. Are there some cringy lines? Sure. But I mean, in Marvel Comics, that's 100% of all comics that have cringy lines at this point. That one's more or less fine. You get to the next one, which is Hercules and Marvel Boy, Ancient and Modern by Andrew Wheeler. And this story is again, it's more or less they're having a battle, they punch some people, they kiss. And it's I know there's feelings people have about this kind of retcon of Hercules being bisexual, and when did that happen, and so on. And the writing of Marvel Boy feels really off for Marvel Boy. But again, the fact that they're in a gay relationship, whatever. Honestly, it doesn't matter. They're there having a fight. There's goofy parts like while they're fighting, they're talking about their relationship and stuff. And this is like as a comic, you go, this is annoying that they're having this constant babble between the two, and you really want to just see the two cut loose. And they are cutting loose in some of the art, but all the same, it's anyway. There's some goofy aspects to it. It's fine as an anthology story. Again, it's just there. But then you start to get to the bizarre what kind of moments, and the first one is this LGBTD, and it's by Grace Freud. And this one is not as much. This one just wanders into kind of more bizarre territory. So the basic premise is that D-Man is hosting a support group, and they come up again. They revisit this support group in a later story by Danny Lore, but they're basically hosting a support group called Super Trans, and it's at the Matt Baker house. And what I do have what cracks me up in this is basically D-Man says, "Hey, folks," or folks, Folx. Wait, are they pronounced the same? Why don't you introduce yourselves? Pronouns and whatnot. And then it's very eye rolling. But what cracks me up about this scene is the first character says, "I'm Pity Girl," she, her, and the second one says, "I'm Alf Lion," they, them, and then the third one goes, "I'm Rex Ridley, good arson." And then doesn't, I mean, immediately by the third person in, he's like, screw the pronouns. So it cracks me up that even in a comic where they're trying to kind of introduce these like Latinx with the X and pronouns, that even the own comic, even the own story gets bored on the same page of this premise and just gives up and forgets the pronoun. So anyway, it's fine. They eventually kind of somewhat get back to that. But the basic premise is that Spider-Man gets tossed into the building, and the Sinister Syndicate is after him. And so they go into a little battle. And this one, the writing just passes the boundary of sanity into Crazy Town, where one of the characters is like, "No way, Mr. D, transistors tolerate." And that's apparently their and then there's some jokes about safe space, and then there's some jokes about D-Man being a bear, and then they kind of immediately defeat these villains, like immediately, with these kids, and then the villains realize that they attacked the LGBTQIA plus youth center, which isn't how they described the center earlier. There's some, anyway, it feels like the writer got randomly bored at various times writing this story and just started inventing stuff. So anyway, the villain's like lamenting "Oh no, we attacked the LGBTQIA youth center. They're never going to let me into Gingers again." I'm like, I mean, okay. So anyway, and then there's a joke at the very end where, the fire-based trans hero said, I think trans hero, actually, maybe not buried. They never actually reveal there. It's a trans support group, but we're not sure. Anyway, he goes, "Mr. D-Man doesn't think my superhero name is cool, but good arson is a sick name, right?" And Spider-Man goes, "It's certainly flaming." Is that funny? Or is that, I mean, it's not funny, but is that, hang on. Okay. Very, very confusing. Anyway, we then get to a story. The next story is about characters in Wakanda. They've been in John Ridley's new Black Panther series. This is let's see, what story is this? This is, I don't, hang on. I'm trying to figure out our author here as I'm looking through this. It's fine, I guess, is the point. You got these two characters. They have a relationship. It's perfectly seen. This one is written by Danny Lore, and then you get, and it's fine. It's two characters and they're in a relationship, and they fight some people and then they kiss, and it's very poetry based. Like, again, there's, with this comic, there's way too much constant writing. These numbskulls showed up and trashed, and even the stuff I didn't screw up. Maybe it's fate. Maybe I'm cut out for that romance and poetry stuff, because I guess he was trying to do a picnic because it's their anniversary. And then they say Taku sees Horatio as his shieldmate, as his lover, as his equal. Taku would not marry anyone lesser. Taku hopes that he says this, not in flowery words, not in poetry or picnics, but in the warmth of his embrace and the softness of his lips. He conveys his passion with 100 kisses, and will do it again on 100 more. I mean, it's sappy. It reads like a romance novel, but I mean, it is what it, again, there's two types of stories here. There's ones that go severely into WTF territory, and when they do, it has nothing to do with the LGBTQ identity. Well, we're going to get to one right here. So the Danny Lore story is just there. The next one, the Stay Out of My Mind Turf Jack, is written by Christopher Cantwell. This story is one of those ones where you really have to question what the editor was thinking as they put this thing out. So basically, the premise is that there is a Warriors-style rumble, and it's got the Guardians of the Galaxy Moonstone is there, and Quasar and a couple of the other characters are involved in this whole thing. So basically, the Guardians of the Galaxy are sitting and watching a movie that is the Warriors. I'm assuming it's the Warriors they're watching. They call it Motorcycle Psychos Grindhouse Biker Classic of '67, but that's kind of what they're kind of portraying here a little bit. But it's basically a rumble. And meanwhile, Moonstone, Heather, is being manipulated by the Grandmaster, who's intercepting her mind and is going to destroy the Guardians of the Galaxy from within. Why does he want to do this? I'm not sure. But basically, all the characters in her mindscape, which is from this Biker Warriors movie, become the Guardians, including Adam Warlock and Mantis and Drax and everything else. And so they decide to, hey, stop fighting, stop this gang war, because it's the mayor and the government that's really screwing us people that have their knee on our throat. And then they all ride to the courthouse or the city hall, and the police come out and basically say, they're basically they get angry and they say, this is our home. They want to shake down our pockets, leave us with nothing while he picks up all our pennies. And the Dragons and the Marvels, we got to get, we're not going to do this. We're going to take our government back, basically. And so the police join in and they have an insurrection to the city hall, where they basically go into the city hall and they kind of trash it and they make out in front of it and they grab the Grandmaster, who's the mayor, and they beat him up. And you're reading this going, what the fuck are you thinking in putting out this story? I mean, I'm sure it's meant to be cute, but when we're doing all this stuff with January 6th and all this insurrection, power to the people, you really want to write a story about a bunch of two gangs who team up and then go to City Hall and break in and trash it? I mean, what the hell are you? What in the world are you doing? So anyway, that's that story, which, again, bizarre. Then you get to the next one, Over the Rainbow, and this story is by Ira Madison, and basically it's Asgard is going to have a Pride Parade or a Pride Festival, Pride Party. So they're having Pride parties down on Midgard in the East Village, because of course. And Valkyrie says, we want to have a Pride celebration on Asgard, and Asgard's like, Thor is like, no, we can't be running around throwing parties all the time. And she's like, bitch, please. She's got the bitch, please look on her face. And she's remembering all the times that Thor and everybody got drunk. And she's like, oh, well, and she doesn't say it, but basically it's like, oh, you homophobic dick. Don't want to have pride, but you want to have all these other drinking parties. So Loki shows up and goes, screw my brother. I'll have a pride party, but I want it in Jotunheim. And so he throws a lame ass party called Loki Pride, and he's trying to sell merchandise. But Thor shows up and reveals that Loki tricked Valkyrie by pretending to be Thor when he said, we don't want to do your pride parade, and being a bigot. And Thor's like, I always like to drink and have a party. And so they have a big pride party on the Rainbow Bridge, and everybody's happy. They're having this pride party. What cracks me up in this is on the last page. Again, this is where an editor would say, steer away from this. Loki and Valkyrie are kind of making up a little bit. And Loki's like, well, this is more fun than Jotunheim. I guess my get-rich scheme to sell T-shirts off of Pride was a bad idea. Which, again, I might remind you, he is a god. So, what? But all right. So anyway, Loki changes into girl Loki and goes, happy Pride, Runa. Want to make out or something? And Valkyrie's like, hand me another beer and we'll see. Which, again, is kind of like, Loki's like, let me just shift my appearance and then let's have some sex. And Valkyrie's like, you're going to have to get me drunk to do that. That's a hell of a lesson. I mean, okay, cool. So again, you're supposed to be promoting kind of healthy LGBTQI relationships. And in this case, it's the, we'll see. Maybe I'll make out with you if you get me drunk enough. Again, what? Fine. So then we get to the long story in the book, and this introduces a brand new character. It's going to be showing up in New Mutants. And this is a Permanent Sleepover, and it's by Charlie Jane Anders. And this introduces a new trans mutant who, and this story, again, this is what I have to stress over and over. The issue is not the sexuality at all. The issue is the writing. The issue is not the gender identity. It's the absolutely batshit insane writing that goes on here. If you take this character who's trans and you have Chris Claremont write a story there, or Anna Cinti, or hell, anyone, Vita Ayala did not contribute to a story to this, but I'm convinced Vita would do a better job with this stuff. The writing is off the charts insane. Again, but it's all the distraction that's going to come over this book as people complain about it is going to be, well, you're a bigot, you're hating on LGBTQ things. I'll tell you, the DC Pride book was 50 billion times more sensible than this. The stories that we got here, that the Christopher Cantwell one, again, ill-timed and just bizarre thinking going into that, just bizarre. The Grace Freud LGBTD, again, what in the hell are you doing with that thing? Again, very bizarre. The gender identity, irrelevant. That is not the problem here. So anyway, this is introducing Escapade, and basically she's this is the kind of be gay, do crime story. So the idea is that some rich jerks got an old helicarrier and turn it into a floating party barge and offshore tax haven. This comic reads like a Twitter thread brought to life. The villains are rich white dude bros who are tech billionaires. It's Elon Musk, basically, small-time cult leader. He got his fans and bodyguards, and he's having a party on this thing with guns and drinks. And then he reveals that, this tech billionaire has their own social media network called InClever, which they created purely so they could cyberbully each other. So their plan is to hack into this thing and then downvote the tweets, or in this case, the brainwaves, so that they sow chaos. And then all the white dude bros get angry because they're downvoting, and it's just, this is, absolutely, this is as stupid as it gets. Our main character is in a relationship with Morgan He-They. And Morgan He-They, it reads like this. They're trying to introduce new characters you're supposed to care about. So here's the introduction. My best friend since 5th grade, apart from the great schism of 6th grade, likes velvet underground, hates going underground while wearing velvet. Ah, ha, 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 okay. And that's Hibbert, any pronoun, his genetically engineered flying turtle. What the fuck are you doing? Anyway, as a reveal, this character Escapade, Sheila Sexton, she/her. Sheila is can fly, can do a few different things. Has technical, but her basic mutant power is that she can swap with somebody else. She can swap bodies, which I guess leans into the trans thing. His mutant ability, Morgan's ability is to turn things into chocolate. So anyway, so she invades the helicarrier here, and there's all this, again, cringy lines. Oh, fish knuckles. You're no bro. Hands up. Use gravity dice. And then she goes down. Just call me the hamster in the digestive tract of evil. Who is this for? Honestly, who the fuck is this for? So anyway, the character uses rainbow dust that interferes with electronics. They then start during the comic to do this kind of Peanuts version comic strip, which are supposed to kind of reveal the tragic origin of the characters. There's a brief supervillain fight. This is where we reveal that she could swap places, trade circumstances with anyone, especially if they're annoying. That's the power. So then there's some goofy things. She's there for the onyx needle, but it's not there, and she cuts the communication off. And in cutting the communication off, it's a lack of trust, and she can't face it alone. So this creates a rift between the two. She shouldn't have dropped off comms, but she's having a argument with Morgan about, we always have to communicate, but then if we don't communicate, we don't have trust, and it's and by the way, in this apartment, there's a framed picture of North Star getting married, and they use the art from that cover, which just makes the entire page look, again, bizarre. It doesn't remotely work. So they talk about it being a crime, and we reveal that basically in a moment of kind of accident, she switches places with Morgan, which causes him to fall to his death. And so she's trying to find a way to reverse path. And she gets advice at the, what we felt earlier in the story, where she is in the super trans support group with D-Man. And, we talked about, again, the dialogue here. I don't even know where to begin with all this. It's just the worst possible way to handle or do anything. By the way, the mutant power later, when she switches places, is different from how it was revealed earlier in the story. Earlier in the story, when she's fighting a supervillain, she switches places and the costume switches and the whole thing just literally swaps places. And in this one, in the next time they show the power, in the flashback, when she switches places with Morgan, the clothes are also switched. She's clearly switching places. Then later, when she's hanging out with Emma Frost, then the clothes stay and they actually switch into each other's identities. So anyway, there's no rhyme or reason, even in the context of this short story, of what the hell is going on. So anyways, they go in. Basically, Emma convinces her to come and train on Krakoa so she doesn't accidentally cause her boyfriend to fall to his death. Sure. And they kind of battle about it, but they talk about they communicate and they get their feelings out, and then they announce they're going to have a permanent sleepover, and they cry and they make up. Again, it's just bizarre. And we have a couple data sheets here. We have North Star's husband here as a data sheet, which is nice. What's kind of weird about this is they have the power stats, and they basically take the point of Escapade, the new character that was introduced in this very story. It talks about how using the swapping power, she is the most powerful character in the entire Marvel universe. Nobody is more powerful than she is. She maxes out on every single category all at once, which again is eye-rolling at best. Somnus, the character that was introduced last year, also in Dreamtime, he is epic, god level, can do whatever he wants. More powerful than Valkyrie, both these characters. So I'm not getting that. Viv Vision is somehow more powerful than several of the characters as well. Whatever. I go back to this. The LGBTQ queer aspect to this comic, not the problem. I mean, it's overly indexing on relationships. Everybody's got a hug and all that. And certainly you don't see in other comics straight characters constantly needing to affirm their relationships and hug and make out. But fine. I mean, it's a book about pride. It's going to lean into the relationships. It is what it is. It's fine. But what is really kind of hammered home here is the writing is to me, it's counterproductive to whatever the hell you're trying to do. I don't even, what word, it's narcissistic at times. It's bizarre. It portrays the characters like psychopaths. It's bizarre. And there are stories here, and I know people, there's lots of criticism that people like Danny Lore get. Danny Lore's story is, it's too flowery. It reads like a romance novel, but it's fine. It is what it is. You're coming into a Pride book. You're going to get a romance story. You're going to lean into the relationship of these two characters. What do you think you're going to get? It's the other stuff. This Christopher Campbell story again. Why in the world would somebody put out a story like this at this particular moment? Bizarre. The whole the D-Man story again. Is this? You're trying to be funny, but what? Like, this can't be what you want. And then the new character is permanent sleepover. Again, just bizarre. bizarre how this stuff is going. The messages in this thing are all over the place, and you just start to really question. Like, I mean, there's some really good LGBTQ stories out there that are published by indie comics. I mean, hell, even Scott Pilgrim, old Scott Pilgrim's been done to death. Had good LGBTQ topics and content. Didn't treat the characters like lunatics. There's plenty of good places to go. Aftershock, Black Mask has put out plenty of stories that handle it well. This stuff, it's just a bizarre story. If you're if you're a parent, you've got a child, or you've got a teen who's who's part of the LGBTQ community, and they're going through this stuff, and you're like, here's a comic book to help you out. Like, no, this is just bizarre. Anyway, I don't know what they're doing anymore. I can't even wrap my head around it. Like I said, everybody's going to pick on this book for being too gay, and that's where the focus is going, and that's where the battle will be. It's like, you're a bigot, you hate this book, or you're trying to brainwash children. That's where this argument's going to be. Hopefully, people take a moment, look at the stories and realize they're insane. These stories are insane, and the sexuality is absolutely not the problem. It's whatever editor greenlit this lunacy. Actually, we can see exactly what editor greenlit this lunacy. Who did it? We're going down. Sarah Brunstad and Anita Okoye. That's your editor. And then there was Angelique Roche was a consulting editor, and C.B. Smolsky was the editor-in-chief. That's our editorial team. Come on. I mean, if your goal is to support Pride, yikes. Thanks for listening.